So I've been following Pagan Online since back when it was under an NDA. I thought it looked pretty cool, especially considering the Diablo Immortal debacle that had recently taken place at the time. So I reached out to the team behind the game and talked to a couple of the team members. They were friendly and more than willing to not only answer any questions I had, but also help with any issues I was having with the game. Just a quick FYI though, for those of you wondering, no, this is not sponsored at all. Pagan is a fast-paced hack-and-slash action RPG published by Wargaming, the people behind World of Tanks, World of Warships, World of Warplanes, you know, all of the World of games. The game features, at least presently, 8 distinct heroes or characters as opposed to classes. I mean, the heroes function more or less like classes would, but they're also bound by their own personalities and looks. Which means, of course, that there is no character creation. There is some customization in the way of varied costumes for your heroes, but otherwise you're likely to be left wanting. Upon entering the game, I quickly learned that the combat style was very similar to games like Path of Exile or Diablo, which is good because I enjoy both of those. Naturally, there are differences, and those differences become abundantly more apparent as you progress further through the game, especially with regards to difficulty and quantity of monsters. As far as the combat itself, it's possibly the most polished I've seen in a game of this kind. Story is a very prevalent part of the game. Progression, access to new areas, access to new features, overall, were all handled via following the main story. The story is pretty basic, but basic stories have a certain charm to them still. All of the gods that once protected the world are now gone. The world is in chaos, and it is up to you to recruit a group of like-minded individuals to assist you in combating the darkness that has engulfed the world. The story alone features a 50-hour-long campaign to get through, and that's without any side missions, DLC, or expansion content. The game, like most action RPGs, takes place in a hub. You take quests, you recruit NPCs to populate the hub you're in, and those NPCs unlock new features. There are plenty of features to unlock, and as of this video, there are quite a few still locked due to the game being an early access title. But then again, that is to be expected as the game isn't in a finished form. I still don't understand why we're able to purchase unfinished games, play them while they're broken, and then get bored of them before they ever get fixed. But you know, what do I know? I'm not a game developer, so I don't know anything about early access games. But I digress. As mentioned, the game takes place in a social hub, meaning you come across a plethora of other players. The game is supposed to be playable with another person, so the hub allows you to essentially locate other people to play with. Unfortunately, co-op play was unavailable when I recorded this, and I believe it is still unavailable currently as of this video going live. The game itself, like when you're actually in missions, is very linear. Where in Path of Exile or even Diablo 3, you're capable of exploring the zone you're in. In Pagan, you're limited to a few different directions you can take. You run down a small linear pathway that is filled with hordes of monsters. You reach a fork in the road, you choose a direction, run down that linear pathway filled with hordes of monsters, and rinse and repeat. Then, boss battle, or zone final fight, which ultimately ends the zone and allows you to essentially progress forward to the next chapter of the story. Each zone does have quite a bit of replayability, with side missions becoming available in zones you've already cleared, and new mission objectives like killing X amount of monsters without dropping below 50% HP or not using X attack requiring you go back and try to complete them. While there isn't really much incentive to explore the areas you're currently traversing, there are things like elite monsters and treasure chests locked behind timers that do promote exploration, so it isn't all bad. When beginning the game, you choose between one of 3 heroes. You're stuck with the hero you choose at the beginning, but gain access to various other heroes as you collect them via hero shards. Hero shards are collected by a variety of means. I collected a few over the course of my journey, but you require 50 per hero to unlock, and that is a lot of grinding, at least for some heroes, as some are more easily unlockable. Each hero has their own unique abilities, their own skill trees, their own equipment types and playstyles, and every hero is playable on the same account. So swapping between characters or changing mains altogether because you found someone you enjoy more is as easy as selecting them. One thing I found limiting, I guess, though, was the skill trees themselves. I'm not saying more variety won't be added in the future, but as of right now, there seems to be more or less a single build you can go. With very little in the way of skill customization, you're left almost with a sense that you have a negligible amount of choice on how your character is actually grown. Loot management is a little ludicrous, though. See, you don't find items or equipment like you normally would after killing a monster or a few monsters. Instead, each zone you go to has several encounters. Each encounter spawns a set of monsters to kill, and only after you've killed them does loot spawn. And boy, does loot spawn. After 2 or 3 encounters, your inventory is completely full, and you're left wondering if you should even bother picking any of the loot up, because most of the items are just useless, common garbage. After each chapter, I'd make it back to the quest hub, completely filled with useless items and weapons to pawn off to the trader. I'm more a fan of quality over quantity. I'd rather improved gear or increased volumes of money drop as opposed to low quality common items and a few gold spilled out everywhere. Okay, think of it this way. You're out at a restaurant with a friend of yours, the restaurant ends up costing $150. Would you rather have 200 $1 notes or 4 $50 notes? Yeah, exactly. Sorting through $151 notes would take forever, and that's my point. There was no need for the overabundance of low-quality items after each group of monsters. It just made selling or trashing the items take that much longer. But that doesn't mean that there was never anything of worth. Several times I had pretty sweet upgrades, at least in terms of raw damage. But every piece of gear has additional stats like plus strength or plus fortitude. So while you could increase the base damage of your character, you could also lower the overall stats of your character by equipping an item with inferior substats. This means that you have to carefully plan every item you equip, which is a pretty interesting route to take, especially if you're a fan of min-maxing in games. For me, I love seeing my stats raise even slightly, so sitting there wondering if the substats would benefit me better overall than the small upgrade in base damage, was kind of my thing. Each story-related mission I went on in-game, at least during the first chapter's missions, had me meet a selection of different NPCs. As I mentioned earlier, the NPCs you recruit in-game come back to your quest hub and unlock various features like crafting, the hero forge, the merchant, and more. They have, like your character, their own unique personality and are responsible for some of the missions you actually go on. It was definitely an interesting route to take, populating the quest hub with recruitable NPCs that have their own quirky personalities and stories associated with them, but it also adds a lot of life to an already refreshingly animated game. Something that initially surprised me was that there was voice acting in-game. The entire game was actually voiced over in English. Every mission I took had someone narrating it. Every feature I unlocked had the NPC associated with the feature explaining how it was used. Every time I unlocked a new NPC, they were all, "Whoa, dude, what's up?" And I was all completely voiced. A lot of it was actually pretty good too. There were some exceptions, like the characters with just such strong foreign accents. You could tell they were just so heavily forced and a little cringy, but it was still entertaining, and the voice acting overall was pretty damn good. Like, I'm no professional voice actor here, so honestly, I have no right to complain or judge anyone else's voice acting, even though I think it'd be pretty cool if I actually were a professional voice actor. Maybe I should add that as like a goal of 2019 or a goal of 2020. One issue I found with the game, and this is a very minor issue because at the same time it isn't even really that big of one, but it was the mobile-esque feel of the hub itself. The Pagan team, they streamlined a lot of the options, making them all more or less available anywhere from the hub itself. This, in part, removed the need to really move. Like, you could, for all intents and purposes, stand there and do everything you likely needed to do on the spot. Having most of the features available from menus anywhere made it feel a little mobile-esque to me, and I've been playing a whole lot of them for my mobile channel recently, so it kind of stood out and irked me a little. Overall, my opinion of Pagan Online is that at its core, it's a very entertaining game with a lot of potential. It is a very beautiful game, ridiculously good looking. The areas I visited, the animations of my characters and the monsters, the skill effect, everything looked so polished. But then, when you're a publisher as large as Wargaming, it's to be expected. The action combat is a little, it's difficult at first glance since it makes use of WSAD instead of mouse clicks, but it's easy to get acclimated to after, which it becomes an incredibly fun and addictive combat style. There's nothing quite like mowing down hundreds of enemies at once with your significant other. Seriously, it makes for a great quality date night. Questing and progression was fun. It was linear and limiting at times, but replayability was very high thanks to various ways of tackling the objectives. I expect this to be even more fun when you have to tackle objectives with another person. Character NPCs that you meet and recruit were all fun and interesting, with some being a little over the top at times, but then I am a fan of World of Warcraft, so yeah. There are a lot of features in the game, or there are planned to be a lot of features in the game. The lack of features were very apparent, and honestly, I feel as though more should have been included before the early access launch. It likely would have resulted in more positive reviews on the Steam page. Overall, for an ARPG, the game was very enjoyable. It turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to, and I don't even traditionally play our ARPGs, so this was refreshing for me. There's some things that are missing from the final game, but for the most part, I had a lot of fun, and I look forward to playing co-op with my wife, Mrs. STIX, when the game finally adds that feature in. Anyway, guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.